Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I'm going to be talking about friendships, breakups in friendships, and how sometimes those breakups can be even more difficult and challenging to work through than actual romantic relationships. And it's a topic that's really close to my heart, something that I've dealt with on many occasions, and I felt like, it would be great if I could give some advice to people who are going through friendship breakups or strains in their relationships and their friendships, and hopefully you guys can take something from it. I'm not naked, I am wearing an off-the-shoulder top, just in case you were wondering. But if any of this content sounds interesting or something that maybe you're struggling with or trying to work through and you need some tips and advice, please stay tuned for the rest of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And please, please, please comment, because you guys are not commenting enough, and I really want to make sure that the content that I'm giving you guys is something that you actually want to watch. And if it's not, and if you want something a little bit more interesting and different, then please let me know. I wanted this channel to be something that we share together. So if this content is something that you're enjoying, please give it a like and a share, and if not, please feel free to comment below and tell me some of the other things that you really want to see. Hey guys, okay, so today's video is very, very close to my heart. It's kind of a touchy subject and something that I've had to work through and I'm still working through, and that has to do with breakups and friendships. So I've had a lot of friendships in the past that have gone through their fair share of strain. I haven't always been the best friend, and I haven't always had the greatest friendships. And sometimes friendships can be even more difficult to maneuver and understand, and sometimes even more difficult to separate from and break away from than actual romantic relationships. And because I haven't seen or heard anyone really on YouTube that I follow talk about things like this, because a lot of the YouTubers that I have, or that I do follow, they have great friendships and great relationships, and that hasn't always been the case for me. So I wanted to share this video, share some insight, and hopefully something that I say resonates with you. So to start out with, I wanted to first say that I haven't always had the easiest time with friendships, especially with female friends, which is actually, I think, a little bit more common than I thought. Like, there's a lot of girls that I know that say, I have a lot more guy friends than I do girlfriends, etc., etc. And so that was the case for me. Growing up, I used to have very close male relationships, and I struggled a lot with female relationships. That might be on account of the fact that I was bullied in elementary school, a little bit in high school, but predominantly a lot of the relationships that I had, the very good friendships that I had, tended to be more male oriented. And so I did struggle a lot, especially after high school, with establishing really great female friendships. And unfortunately, there aren't very many people who I still talk to that are from university that I made relationships with then, and that is, partially because I'm a different person, and partially because my experiences weren't, again, all that great. And so I kind of chose to allow that time period in my life to kind of just be, and not necessarily take everything and everyone that was a major part of my life then into where I am right now. And I think that that's been important for personal growth. But I also recognize, especially having gone to church and recognizing the importance of relationships and the fact that God does desire for us to have reconciliation in our relationships, that it's possible that I made a mistake in kind of choosing to end some of those relationships. And I am prayerful that at the right and appointed time, God will open the doors for conversations to be had, and for me to humble myself enough to the point where, I'm open to having conversations with people that I don't really anymore. So I wanted to offer about 3 ideas that, looking back on all of the friendships that I've had, kind of tend to be consistent when there's been a shift in the relationship, and when I've started to notice that, maybe this relationship isn't something that's for me. Maybe I can't give as much of myself as I would like in these areas, and maybe I'm not receiving as much as I would like from these people who I really do hold dear and close to my heart. So those areas are elevation, support and encouragement, and finally challenging. And I think that these 3 areas are very reciprocal. So it's not just that I'm out here expecting all three of these areas to be fulfilled in all of my relationships from somebody else, and I'm not giving the same thing, these three areas are very reciprocal. So the first thing, elevation, looking back, there have been a lot of friendships that I've had where I've been stagnant, and those people who were very close to me at a point in time, and the relationship just kind of either disintegrated, or I no longer talked to them, or we had a falling out, or whatever the case is. I was no longer being elevated by those relationships or by those people even. I felt stagnant, or I was moving backwards. And when you can feel that shift happening in your relationship, that might be a red flag as to whether or not you want to sit down and have a conversation with this person, or whether or not, you should start to think, okay, are there other things that have been shifting and changing in the dynamic of this relationship that I should be aware of, that maybe it's not growing in the direction that it should for it to be edifying for both of us. The second, support and encouragement. I can't tell you how important that is, especially for me. I'm a person who's very oriented towards conversation and realness and vulnerability. And I love to support and I love to encourage those who are around me. And that's just a gift that I feel like I've been given. And I think that when there's a shift and a change in your relationship, and the people that are closest to you are no longer supporting and encouraging you, but planting seeds of doubt, questioning things that they ought not be questioning, whether or not it be with where you're headed in life, where you are right now, if it's not something that is completely endangering your life and they're not there to uplift you, then I think that it's a red flag as to whether or not you should sit down and have a conversation with this person again, or, you should be thinking, okay, that's, another thing that just kind of seems different or off. Is this something that I should kind of be alarmed about? And is the dynamic of our relationship changing to where this may not be somebody that I can have a long-term relationship with, or continue to pour into this person and have them continue to pour into me, especially if it's something negative. The last thing, is this person challenging you in a positive way? Are they saying to you, you know what, I know that this is where you are, but I foresee you doing so much better? Are they challenging your thought process when it comes to other relationships that you may have? Are they saying to you, hey, like, I know that this is the type of person that you are, but I don't know if this guy or this girl is somebody who is pouring into you in the way that they need to challenge you and make you a better person? Are they encouraging you to be a better version of yourself? If the answer is no to a lot of these questions, then maybe you've reached a point where you've got to really start to evaluate the dynamic of the relationship. Really start to assess, okay, is this person in all of these areas falling short? Am I falling short in any of these areas? And either how do we fix it together, or does this mean that, we've gotten to a place where we've given as much as we were supposed to in the dynamic of this relationship, and now it's just time for us to naturally grow apart? And that's okay too. When it gets a little difficult is when, we are aware of these changes, but it's hard to verbalize them. And so aside from those three key points, I think it's also important to have transparency with people who you're calling your friend, people that you can actually say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. This is how I don't feel like I've been supported by you. This is how I don't feel like our relationship is growing or bettering both of us. It's important to be transparent and to have a safe space between you and this person, that you can say these things honestly and not fear that they're going to be offended or upset by it. I also think that it's important to have an atmosphere of forgiveness, and that really ties into what I was initially talking about, friendship breakups. So sometimes we get to a point where, all of these red flags have been shown to us, and, we've gotten so many indications that this relationship has to come to an end because this person no longer is somebody who's in my life for the good. And I, conversely, am not, pouring into this person as much as I would like, or as much as I know that I'm capable of, because I have so many other friends that I'm able to do that with. But for some reason, this person I'm just stagnant with. And I think that when we get to that point and we kind of have to break that relationship and break that tie, I feel like we will most likely have peace about it. And that may sound like it's contradicting God's will in our life to have a sense of reconciliation, but it's not. I definitely think that God does desire for us to have reconciliation in our relationships, but I also think that that reconciliation has to be two willing participants. And so if you've gotten to a point where you know you need to step back or step away, or work on yourself outside of that friendship, then do that. And prayerfully that person will be okay with doing that as well. And if you both then are able to come to a point where you can reconcile and you've worked on your individual problems and now you want to come back together and say, you know what, let's give this friendship a shot and really make sure that we're communicating well with one another, so that this friendship can be beneficial for both of us, then God really desires for that too. And I don't think that those two ideas are mutually exclusive. I think that you can want time away from your friendship, and I think that you can also want to reconcile at the same time. I don't think it has to be one or the other. Friendship breakups are hard, and they're hard because a lot of times they go unspoken. It's not like you're breaking up with a boyfriend or girlfriend where you either have a blow up and you just go your separate ways, or you sit down and amicably say, you know, this isn't working anymore. And with, non-romantic relationships and friendships, that can kind of sometimes look a little bit different. But I don't think that we should handle them with any less care or any less love, or just sweep them under the rug as something that, it'll work itself out, because a lot of times our non-romantic relationships really impact our energy, our state of well-being, and the people that we surround ourselves with, whether positive or negative, are going to feed off their energy onto us. And so it's important that we're selecting and choosing relationships that are going to be positive and help us to grow as individuals. And when those relationships are not positive and when they're not helping us to grow, I think that it's very key to say, you know what, I need to take a step away. And I think it's also good to recognize when certain people just are not good for you. And I think it's important to say, you know what, as much as I love you, I love myself as well. And I don't think that this relationship is bettering the both of us. And it's not us loving one another anymore in a friendship. And that can be hard. It can be hard to have those conversations. And I can't say that I've sat down and had those conversations with anyone. For me, a lot of my relationships have just kind of fallen apart. And there are some, though, that I have, explicitly said, I don't care to invest in a friendship anymore. And I think that you also have to be real with yourself. Like, if you're at a space, like I said before, that you can't pour into someone in the ways that I was mentioning, whether that be elevating that person, whether that be supporting or encouraging, or whether that be challenging somebody, then I think it's best for you to recognize that and say, okay, I'm going to step away from this, because why stay in something that is not beneficial for the both of you? Anyhow, that was long, really drawn out. I hope that you gain something from this video. I hope that it will help you going forward in your relationships. I hope that, you can find reconciliation in some of the relationships that you've had, if that's where you're at. And if not, I pray that you can have peace about the decision to kind of separate yourself from somebody who may have been maybe not the greatest for your personal growth. And I think that that's okay too, to get to that space and to realize those things. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.